Are humans inherently violent? Or is violence an extreme group response when our individual nature is one of empathy? Let me give you another scenario. Do you consider human nature empathic or violent? Some of you might answer yes, humans are violent. You might answer this based on different reasons. But I have found that the most common reason that supports this answer is that humans have evolved from animals, so it is in our nature to be violent when we are defending ourselves, our countries, or our loved ones. We are violent. Violence runs through our blood. It is a natural instinct. This is what many people think about the nature of humankind. The lives of thousands of people are being erased in hundreds of places in the world because of disputes between opposing groups. We don't need to look at the entirety of the world to notice this. In Mexico, more than 30,000 people die every year because of violent acts, according to Pablo Ferri, a Mexican journalist. Our nature is not an excuse for our behavior. It is not an explanation for the millions of lives lost around the world. If so, it is our responsibility to change this. We can start evolving as human beings and stop the atrocities happening. We are the heart of humanity. Charles Darwin was a naturalist, geologist, and biologist who made a great contribution to human evolutionary biology. According to Darwin, it is always the strong species that survive. The species with the traits that enable them to adapt to new environments are the ones who will continue to live. In his book, The Descendant of Man, Darwin mentions how the most civilized races of men will be extinguished and will be replaced by the most savage. He also mentioned that those who learn to collaborate and improvise most effectively are the ones who will prevail. But who determines which race should prevail and which race should be extinguished? Over the years, communities have used Darwin's evolutionary theory as an excuse for the atrocities they have committed. By using this theory, we are labeling cultures as savages or subspecies, and we are creating a separation with words like us and them. Even in his book, Darwin falls to denominate Africans as less evolved than white people. The scientific mainstream of the United States and Europe accepted this theory without a thought and used it to promote racial discrimination with the implementation of segregation laws and colonialism. For example, the Jim Crow laws were a system created by white Southerns in the United States that was used to promote segregation around the whole country. They used labels like white and colored all over the country to separate black people and white people. They used these labels in public spaces such as restrooms, restaurants, and public spaces. Now let's concentrate on our moral compass and how that influences our development as humans. Paul Bloom was another psychologist who developed a theory that suggests that humans are born with a moral compass. He believed that we have a sense of right and wrong, as well as a desire to do the right thing and sometimes even horrible things. For example, anger is an emotion that we have had since we are small children, and it develops as we grow older. It is an emotion that can lead to irrational and immoral actions that can provoke confrontation and sometimes even the physical harm of someone. When I was young, I used to be quite violent. I always resorted to my fist because it was the only way I knew that could make me win an argument. My mom used to read my sister and I a bedtime story every night. This one time, I was 100% sure it was my turn to choose the story. But my mom and my sister kept telling me that it was my sister's turn. So, as the 4-year-old I was, I decided to throw the book that weighed like 3 kilos in my sister's face. Obviously, I got super grounded and couldn't choose the story for like a week. This didn't make me a violent or a cruel person. My moral compass was just barely growing and I was just learning what was right and what was wrong. Other moral emotions such as empathy can also lead to negative actions. When we see another person suffer, we often feel the need to do something about it, and that is what can lead to irrational and immoral actions. For example, I could grab this pencil, tell you his name is Michael. Michael has many friends in his pencil box and loves to talk to their erasers. Michael was born in a factory in China, but then flew all the way to Mexico to practice what he was born to do. Write. Michael wants to become one of the greatest writers the world has ever seen, because he knows his worth and knows that with his words he can create great things. Michael's parents died a long time ago, but he likes to believe that they are somewhere in heaven rooting for him. How did that make you feel? Humans are meant to naturally feel pity and compassion when we see another person suffer. Now imagine Michael was a real life person. Really imagine it. You felt even worse for Michael because you put a face to the person that's suffering. Now let's focus on what it takes a person to achieve a moral level without having the need to fight for their survival. Abraham Maslow was a humanistic psychologist who developed a theory that suggests that humans are motivated to gain full basic needs before moving into more advanced needs. He believed that when we are born, we have a sense to become self-actualized, which means the full use and exploitation of our own talents and potential. Abraham Maslow believed that in order to become self-actualized, we had to fulfill certain needs in what he called Maslow's hierarchy, and it is often displayed as a pyramid. In the first stage, we have physiological needs, with food, water, and shelter. The next stage is safety and security, with health and employment. The next stage is love and belonging, with family, friends, and a sense of connection. The next stage is self-esteem, with achievements, confidence, and respect for others. And the last stage is self-actualization, which includes morality, creativity, and self-acceptance. But what happens when the last stage, self-actualization, is achieved? Is it when we give into our violent tendencies or our empathic ones? Instead of focusing on individuals, Maslow took a different approach, focusing on a more healthy individual. According to Maslow, survival is a need, and when that need is met, we are able to focus on ourselves without ruining other people's path towards self-actualization. Over the years, communities have proved that even in the worst condition, they are able to show kindness and be helpful to one another. An extraordinary example of this was the Christmas truce, an event that occurred in World War I, 1941, in the Western Front, when the German troops started decorating their trenches with Christmas trees and singing carols. When the British saw the lights and heard the noise, they opened fire. But when they saw that the Germans weren't responding, they stopped. What was so important for them not to return the fire? They were celebrating Christmas. The British decided to join this spontaneous truce, stopping fire for 1 day and a half. Both sides would meet in the land of no one and would substitute the sound of guns with Christmas carols. They ate, played football, and exchanged the presents that had been sent from home. Later on, they were warned that there was no fraternizing with the enemy. So, both sides had to return to the trenches and continued fighting. This evidence helps me prove my point because it shows that the men that are fighting in these wars don't want to be there. They are only there because they are forced and pressured by society to defend their countries by killing other men who are in the same position as them. I could stand here and tell you that humans are inherently violent. I could stand here and tell you to use the millions of wars that have happened since the beginning of time as the excuse you need to believe that humans are inherently violent. But if I told you all of this, where would hope be? A hope for a better future. A hope for a place where killing innocent children isn't a way to win a war. If I told you all of this, we wouldn't be better from our ancestors or animals, but we are. We are, not them, not the armies or the governments. We are the hope for the future we are so desperately looking for. If you believe that humans are inherently good, then prove it, own it, and show it. And if you still believe that humans are inherently violent, then use your awareness to choose a different path, a path for hope. Be what you want the world to become. Instead of falling into the path of discourse that searches to destroy the supposed weakest species, help them become as strong as we are. We are what stands between violence and humanity. We are the ones who decide what we want our humanity to be remembered as. We are the ones who define the heart of humanity. Thank you.